Recently I have done a review of Delving Deeper, a retro clone of 1974 OD&D, and while I maintain that it is a great update to the original D&D box set, there is another candidate. To clear up any confusion, 1974 OD&D is the very first incarnation of D&D and a precursor to both Advanced D&D, 1st edition, and Basic Expert D&D, which appears to be the most commonly played system in the OSR. White Box fantastic medieval adventure game was created by Charlie Mason and it is apparently a clone of a retro clone. It is a reformatted update to Swords and Wizardry White Box edition. White Box fantastic medieval adventure game is therefore a slick and very well presented game, relatively faithful to the OD&D rules but quicker and easier to reference at the table. The book avoids superfluous prose and is easy to read, as well as having lots of great art scattered throughout. There are some new rules included designed to improve the play experience, and in each case the original version of that rule is described, allowing the DM to tailor the play experience to their liking. The character creation process is much the same as OD&D, with slight changes to make the wisdom score more useful than it traditionally was. In the spirit of the original game, ability scores are not as important as they would become in later games, providing only a +1 bonus or -1 penalty for good and bad scores respectively. In fact, this reduced disparity is what makes the old school game both more balanced and more deadly. The whole system is streamlined from the beginning, favouring attack bonuses over THAC0, ascending AC over descending, and a single saving score, rather than 5 different saving throw types. I really like these changes, and I generally do the same in my own games. Each class has a bonus when making saves in specific situations. For example, clerics have a +2 bonus against poison and paralysis, and magic users +2 against spells, so even in the simplified system, each class has some special resistance. Turn undead checks are made on 3d6 rather than the traditional 2d6, making clerics immediately more powerful as they are able to turn higher hit dice of undead at earlier levels. This may compensate for the lack of spellcasting abilities clerics have at first level. The Thief is also included as an optional class, as it was in Delving Deeper, despite its absence from the original 1974 game. It would not actually appear until the Greyhawk supplement a year later, but its inclusion here is appreciated. All the Thief skills are tested on 1d6, and each skill is as likely to succeed as another. This makes adjudication easier, but I am not sure how that will manifest in the game. It certainly makes climbing much more dangerous at early levels. The Demi-Human races are present in their original form. Dwarves can be fighters or thieves, and elves can switch between fighter and magic user in the same way as they could in OD&D. But an optional version of the elf is provided, which combines the two classes into one. A great inclusion and simplifies one of the more nonsense rules from OD&D. One of the complaints about early D&D is that each weapon does the same amount of damage, just 1d6, which many find to be unrealistic. Why take a slow two-handed sword when a small cheap dagger does the same amount of damage? Well, White Box fixes this by having light weapons deal 1d6 -1 damage, whilst two-handed weapons deal 1d6 +1 damage. This is quite a minor change, but creates differentiation between weapons without complicating or unbalancing the streamlined combat of OD&D. Combat rules are updated to be more coherent, including both the traditional descending armor class and the more manageable ascending armor class system. This is great for players of newer systems and traditionalists. Overall, the chapter on playing the game will be familiar to players of most other OSR games, as will the combat section, which has a simplified procedure designed for swifter resolution of combat. There are also variants for a less lethal game, giving the option for negative hit points and rules for bandaging wounds after combat. Both of these rules are not so forgiving that the fear of death will be entirely banished, but will result in slightly fewer instant deaths. OD&D enthusiasts will also be pleased to see jousting rules as well, simplified from the original chainmail version but certainly serviceable. The magic section is formatted clearly and presented in alphabetical order, with terse spell descriptions allowing for interpretation by the DM on exactly how the spell works. The spell lists closely resemble OD&D with some minor changes and additions. For example, reverse spells work slightly differently than OD&D in that each reverse spell is the chaotic version of the original, available only to chaotic clerics. Darkness instead of light, cause wounds rather than cure wounds. This adds extra flavour and meaning to the cleric's alignment. It's a logical change, but it does mean that some reverse spells are not available to the wizard. The section on running the game is straightforward, utilitarian, and not as evocative as Delving Deeper, missing some of the charm and mystery, though possibly more useful for quick reference by the DM. The monster section differs the most from both OD&D and Delving Deeper. It is formatted in a forthright manner, which is easy to reference and more akin to modern publications. The monster details are deliberately left sparse in favour of the DM's imagination. Yet there is a fair amount of rules changes expressly designed to simplify, such as a monster's attack bonus always equaling its hit dice, its saving throw equaling 19 minus its hit dice, and an HDE value, or hit dice equivalent score, which basically acts as a challenge rating number. This can be used to help the DM design more balanced encounters if they wish. Monsters can be run very easily and with very little preparation. The DM knows, for example, that a 3 hit dice creature will have about 10 hit points on average, will roll 1d20 plus 3 to hit, will have a saving throw of 16, and will deal 1d6 damage on a hit. The DM will only need to reference the monster entry to determine the armor class and special abilities. Monster XP values have been changed more in line with basic D&D and most retro clones, in which defeating monsters does not provide as much XP. In both OD&D and Delving Deeper, monsters yield 100 XP per hit dice, a little excessive in my opinion, though perhaps closer to the modern game. There are more than 100 monsters detailed in the book of varying difficulty, plenty for most situations, and of course monsters from other OSR systems can very easily be converted to white box. The final section is the treasure section, and here the most changes are made. The system of treasure generation has been greatly simplified based only on the creature's hit dice rather than the creature's treasure type. The total gold piece value is usually equal to 2.5 times the creature's XP total, so a 1 hit dice monster will probably have 30 gold pieces, a 5 hit dice monster will have 600 gold pieces, and so on. While this simplifies the procedure, it makes no difference between the types of treasure monsters traditionally have, though there is advice given on how to distribute treasure meaningfully. The system in which gems, jewellery and magic items are rewarded involves a 10% chance of trading out some of the coins from the hoard in exchange for these special items. Now, this may end up yielding a not excessive amount of gems and jewellery, but does seem like a slightly annoying way of doing things. If you need to generate treasure quickly, this is perhaps the best system to use, but I prefer the Delving Deeper treasure generation system. Art in the book consists of black and white line drawings of varying quality, but most are very good, if a little generic. White box fantastic medieval adventure game is only about $5 or £5 from Amazon, and the quality is absolutely fine. At this price, there is no good reason not to have this book on your shelf. The rules are really easy to pick up, and there are so many old school modules that are easily adapted. While I maintain that Delving Deeper is closer to the tone of OD&D, White Box is the more streamlined retro clone, with enough minor quality of life changes to make the system preferable, especially to the newcomer. Overall, this is a great product and highly recommended. Thank you for watching the video. I would like to end by thanking all the new subscribers. There has been an unexpected influx of new subscribers off of the back of my Thief video, which I'm very grateful for. I was also pleasantly surprised by the amount of interesting discussion in the comment section. I read almost all the comments and I appreciate the engagement and politeness of you all. Thanks again, everybody, and see you in the next video.